We've all grown up by dreaming of flying cars, right? At least me. The movies promised us a future where we would be soaring above traffic, but reality kept saying, not so fast. Well, buckle up, because the reality is, the future is finally here. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce Jim Dukhovny, CEO of Alef Aeronautics, the man who's making those sci-fi dreams come true. Imagine this, the first electric car that can take off vertically and actually fly. Sounds wild, right? But it's real. Today, you will get a sneak peek at a stationary model, plus some jaw-dropping footage of the real deal in action. So, welcome on stage, Jim Dukhovny. The stage is yours. Okay. Video first. And after that, Jim Dukhovny will be here on stage.
A car cannot fly. If car would be able to fly, it would obviously change the world. It would change how the world look like. It would change where you live. It would change how much your house costs. It would change how much your groceries cost. Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury wrote about it. Back to the Future, Blade Runner, Fifth Element showed about it. Henry Ford, Elon Musk tried to build it, but it still remains a dream because it's impossible. First of all, there's laws of physics which tell you a car cannot fly. Even if we go beyond laws of physics, which is impossible, how many of you would put a child in a flying car? Even if that would be possible, today, the air traffic cannot handle existing amount of aircraft in the air. What if you put 1 million cars above Berlin? That would be possible. And so in October 2015, quite coincidentally, the date the car in Back to the Future traveled to, coincidence, 4 founders, Oleg, Konstantin, Paul, and myself, met in a coffee shop, and we tried to do the impossible. So why did we try to do it? The timing was right. In 2015, several technologies matured. First of all, the battery technologies. Second of all, the flight control software, microelectronics, 3D printing, drone technology, prototyping, many technologies came to mature around 2015, which made it a little bit possible to make a flying car. By the way, if you want to check the hands of people who actually build a flying car, Oleg and Konstantin are actually in the audience. So before we started, there was even more fundamental problem. How do you build an aircraft with $0? We were 4 founders, we didn't have money, and it takes a lot of money to build a flying car. So we didn't have money, but somebody else did. One of the most famous investors in the world, the person who was first or one of the first investors in Tesla, SpaceX, Skype, Baidu, and many others, Tim Draper. And after that, we added another 18 investors. And contrary to what you may read in the media, we're still accepting new investors too right now. We actually just started a new round. So with initial funds, Oleg, Konstantin, Paul, and myself tried to design the first flying car in history. So here's how it works. First, we took out the engine, and instead we put 4 smaller engines inside 4 wheels. Second of all, in that empty space which we needed, we put propulsion. It's called DEP, distributed electric propulsion. It's 8 propeller, motor, speed controller, battery systems independent of each other, controlled by central computers. Third of all, we created what is called mesh. So mesh, which is on top, first of all, it allows for the air to come through for the vertical lift. And second of all, that allows the structure of the car. It's a structural element. Now, according to our calculations, numbers were more than enough for over 92% of the commute. Which means over 90% of the commute actually is between 10 and 30 miles, and over 95% of the commute is 1 or 2 person vehicle. Also, there is one important feature here. It's extremely lightweight if you look at it. It's extremely, extremely lightweight because Oleg and Konstantin designed something like with a specially laid out carbon fiber, sometimes impregnated with other materials, which made this car extremely light. Not only it's extremely light, it's actually stronger than 70% of the cars built today. Which means it is lighter and stronger because of the materials they did. The next step was actually to see if all of this design actually worked in a real life. And it did. So we built a full-size prototype which could drive, vertically take off, and fly. But who in a right mind would allow this to fly anywhere? Well, FAA, US government. So we actually received permission to vertically take off and fly, being the first car in history which was allowed for government to vertically take off and fly. With very limited, obviously, with limited functionality, with experimental, not commercial, but still, this car is actually allowed to fly. Remember I told you that we're extremely light. Because we're extremely light, in several countries, in Europe, in Asia, and in America, we're legally allowed to fly today with limited capabilities. The capabilities is limited, but yes, in several countries, several big countries, for example, Canada, UK, you can today vertically take off and fly this car. Now, remember we had a question, billions of cars above Berlin, how's that going to work? Well, it turns out to be that FAA and EASA have very, very smart people and other aviation authorities around the world. So FAA and NASA, at least in the United States, already have something which resembles highways in the sky. They're used mostly for what's called AAM, Advanced Air Mobility, They're being rolled out very slowly. This is mostly for drones, eVTOLs, and everything else. But it already exists. And it can actually handle that huge traffic. So imagine there's something like a lanes, like a virtual lanes, in the sky, which will allow you a very, very ordered traffic in the sky. The difference between traffic in the ground and traffic in the sky, that highway doesn't have bounds. Not only it doesn't have bounds, it also has y direction, which means you never have any two lanes crossing, correct? So you can actually put 1 million cars in the air, 1 million cars in Berlin. Good luck getting from downtown to here. That's what we experience. But why did they allow us to fly? Why? Because of safety. Safety is the most important thing which we do. Without safety, none of you would ever buy it. Without safety, none of you would ever sit yourself in it or put a child in it. We at Alef spend more than 75% of our time and our budget on safety. Because without safety, we cannot do anything. Nobody will allow us to fly. You guys will not buy it. And moreover, we need more safety than a regular car. And we need more safety than an aircraft. Because it's something new. And people tend to be skeptical to get themselves into something new. So let me spend several minutes to tell you why a flying car is safer than an aircraft, like an airplane, and safer than a regular car. Something which you're definitely skeptical about, and you're right to do so. So, safer than an airplane. Today, when you fly an airplane usually has 1 or 2 engines. And this is the most common point of failure. We have 8 independent engines, and not only gives you 4x more redundancy, which means it's at least 4 times safer. We have also other systems which can kick in if the whole system goes down, another system kicks in. This whole system goes down, another system kicks in. Which means statistically and mathematically, it's actually 4 to 16 times safer than any airplane on which you flew today. And last but not least, we have a ballistic parachute. The reason we're able to do that is because we're so lightweight. Being so light enables this, where other aircraft cannot do that, right? This is what lightweight gives you. Now, something which is harder for you to believe, why a flying car is safer than a car. So let's talk about it. A car has accidents where 2 or more cars try to occupy the same space, right? This is where you probably hit the car, or you hit a car like this. Moreover, the most damage you have is not even from hitting the other car, but hitting the tree or hitting the curb, hitting something secondary. The fact that you have more space in the air is actually good. So statistically, the likelihood of any 2 aircraft touching each other is so much less than cars. Again, simply because of there's more space there. It's statistically and mathematically much more safer. Again, you never have 2 roads crossing each other because they cross in y directions. You have much more room for something it's not going to hit the second one, and so on. Moreover, the fact that you're so high in the air, which to some of you seems scary, it's actually good and not bad. You have more time to recover for all the systems to kick in. If you hit somebody in a car, in the next second or 2, you're going to hit a curb or you're going to hit a tree. That's not going to happen in the air. There's a lot more time to recover. And again, keep in mind, if everything goes, the ballistic parachute. So we created more than 100 of safety features in addition to the features which are not there. But there yet one big problem remains. The most important problem, the laws of physics. If I would end the presentation today, all of you who know physics or aeronautics would be right to call me on it and say, that's not going to work with today's technology. The reason is the batteries are not yet, even in today in 2024, not yet capable of going a long range. We can do everything I just said, but it would fly for 5-10 minutes, which is not going to be a really good car. we need to fly longer. So let me explain the problem, the laws of physics. Most of the things fly the same. When you get an airplane, a helicopter, you have a wing, specially shaped wing, and when you move forward, air pressure under the wing becomes more than air pressure over the wing, and this is why you stay in the air, right? This is what makes you stay in the air. Now, car doesn't have wings. If you're going to add wings to the car, guess what? You won't be able to vertically take off because there's going to be too much weight. Moreover, car has one of the worst possible shapes for flying because it's designed to push you down, not up. So, what we need wings which weigh 0 pounds, and we need to make the horrible shape of the car to efficiently fly forward. So one day, Oleg and Konstantin did something so simple that nobody in 100 years thought about it. Neither Henry Ford nor Elon Musk, probably because it was so simple. They took a car, they took a regular car, which I just showed you, and they turned it 90 degrees. Now, the exact same shape, by turning 90 degrees, became a biplane. A regular biplane with 0 extra pounds. You have 2 big wings on the top and the bottom. You have also DEP, distributed electric propulsion inside, which becomes one of the most efficient designs for aircraft, which you got from the shape of the car on the ground. And to your next question in the audience, yes, we've flown that in a real life on a full size in transition. But many had doubts that this is a car. Even though this drives, vertically takes off and everything, that doesn't look like a car. And thanks to Steve Jobs, design matters. So we hired one of the most famous car designers, the same person who worked on the design of Bugatti, Lotus, Jaguar, Hiroshi Razagi from Sweden.
Hello, Jim.
To design a vehicle to both drive and fly with recognizable aesthetics is not an easy task. The aesthetics of this car uses design cues from sport cars. The concept has to consider everything from legal lights with a strong brand identity as well as pedestrian protection.
And so, 1.5 years ago, we came out from stealth mode and actually unveiled this car to the world. That kicked off a new storm. For the first time, there was actually a real flying car which was actually legal to fly. We were in headlines on Fox, NBC, CNN, BBC, on many news stations. In fact, the reach of this news were to over 2 billion people. So media finally could stop calling eVTOLs like Lilium, Archer, Joby, Volocopter flying cars, because now there was a real flying car. And that kicked off the storm of pre-orders. In fact, we received more pre-orders last year than Boeing, Airbus, Lilium, Archer, Joby combined, which made it best-selling aircraft in history by the number of pre-order units per year. That also became the fastest commute motor car in history. Those are close to the real times from downtown Berlin to here. There's no mode of transportation which will get you faster to here. Something often overlooked, that is actually the greenest, the most environmentally sustainable motor vehicle in history. More than Tesla, more than any EV. Because under about the same watt hours per mile, we actually use less miles per trip because the road is straighter, which means we use less energy per trip. And so there remained one more important question. Why? Why did we do it? So we have little time on Earth. Average time, most of us will live probably to about 80 years. In this 80 years, we try to do a lot. We try to start a family. We try to do some impact on the world. We try to enjoy our life a little, all in a short 80 years. 1 week every year you lose in traffic. 1 week of your life, and in big cities like Berlin, actually more. 1 week per year you lose in traffic. In that time, you could see more of your family, you could sleep more, you can go on vacations. You lose huge amount of time. That costs $1 trillion in impact on the economy. The fact that you're staying in traffic and doing nothing. That costs billions of pounds of CO2 going in the air. What we try to do with Alef, we try to move world faster, which means you can do more. Which means we can discover cures from diseases faster. Which means we can find more ways to feed the hungry. Which means we can improve life better if we move the world faster. So Alef gives you your time back. On May 4th, 2022, I received a call that there was a fire in an apartment where my parents live. I sat in my car, I rushed there. It took me about 20 to 30 minutes to get there. When I got there, they told me that my father died in the fire. And firemen told me that if I would get there faster, we could actually save my father. My father was a great man. He was a famous singer-songwriter. In fact, this is one of his music playing on the background. His patents were used in spaceships. He loved science fiction, and he was my main inspiration for this. He died before he ever knew what we did. That 5 to 10 minutes in my life and in your life sometimes can make a huge difference. Not even an hour, right? What's important to us in Alef is to make the world better. This is what my father told me. This is inspiration for Ole, Konstantin, Paul, for all of us. What we're trying to do is we're trying to something which you guys dream of, something which everybody wants, and make it real. Thank you.